In the early morning of 1850, as the bright doors of the New York Stock Exchange swung open, a wave of stifling heat mixed with the smell of painter's ink and sweat rushed out. Broker William Thompson clutched a crumpled shipping manifest and shot it hoarsely in the crowded training pit. Living proof cotton, 3 months futures, the price on his sheet was already 3 weeks old. At that moment, across the Atlantic, carrier pigeons carrying the latest market updates flapped their wings, but they were no match for the ever-changing pace of the market. The financial world at that time was like a shattered mirror. Account books painstakingly written with quill pens by London merchants had to endure dangerous ocean voyages to reach New York. Dividend plans of American railway companies turned into worthless scraps during the bumpy transatlantic journey. The price difference of gold between New York and London soared unpredictably, sometimes reaching as high as 5%. The Rothschild family's value was filled with fortunes amassed from information these practice, while small bankers could only watch helplessly as their assets were swept away by the tides of the markets drawn in delayed news. The turning point came on the rainy night in 1854. Cyrus Westfield, a 33-year-old entrepreneur, handled in a Wall Street cafe, a brass telegraph model gleaming coldly in his hand, when an engineer casually mentioned, "Perhaps a submarine cable could span the Atlantic." Field's eyes blazed with determination. The former paper magnate quickly did the math, connecting the financial heartbeats of London and New York would squeeze arbitrage margins down to mere 0.1%. Capital would then move across global markets with the prescience of the well-drilled army. Yet the depths of the Atlantic proved more formidable than anyone imagined. In 1857, the first cable began its descent off the coast of Ireland, but when it reached the 300-mile mark, it snapped like a fragile thread. Standing on the deck, Field watched in horror as the coiled cable plunged into the inky abyss, while enraged shareholders shouted in cold in his ears, "This is money thrown into a bottomless pit." Tired, he sold his assets, mortgaged his properties, and even pursued Queen Victoria and President Franklin Price to back the project. On the third attempt, the cable finally reached Newfoundland. As the first Morse codes clinked across the ocean floor, a stunned silence filled over the New York Stock Exchange, but within hours, the current died out abruptly, like a cage-breast struggle. Desperate engineers discovered that the crushing 6,000-meter ocean pressure had reduced the gutta percha, the in solution to rubble. Field's wife wrote in her diary. Every night he stays up in the study, drawing new blueprints. Candles burn out one after another, and the bloodshot in his eyes is redder than the Atlantic sunset. The breakthrough came in 1866. This time Field charted the Great Eastern, the largest steamship of its era. The vessel carried a 2,500 mile cable, composed of 108 intertwined copper standards, sheathered in Indian Percha, the steel armor, weighing over 400 tons. When the cable's end finally touched the sunny shores of Newfoundland, a turbulent operator in London tapped out a biblical verse, "What hath God wrought?" In an instant, the telegraph machine in New York sprang into life. The crowd frozen in disbelief, then erupted in sonorous cheers. Cotton price, gold exchange rate, railway bonds, data flooded across the Atlantic like a roaring dam. Nathan Rothschild, the patriarch of the Rothschild dynasty, one watched in shock as his long-held information monopoly crumbled before this cylinder copper trade. The ripples of the French Revolution spread far and wide. Liverpool cotton merchants and their New York counterparts finally shared real-time press. Boston insurance companies could track ship positions instantaneously and adjust premiums accordingly. More significantly, Finch began to shade its mysterious wealth. Small investors for the first time stood no on equal footing with banking giants through the telegraph. The Bank of England and the precursors of the Federal Reserve stand coordinating monetary policy via cable, marking the dawn to modern central banking. 16 decades later, as we check global stock markets on our smartphones and execute cross-border Bitcoin transactions on blockchain networks, the spirit of that cable-driven revolution lives on. From NASDAQ's digital stickers to high-frequency traders vying for milliseconds of transmission advantage, the essence of Finch remains unchanged. The relentless pursuit of efficiency, the determination to break down barriers, and a timeless aspiration to make capital serve the world. In the corner of the Wall Street Museum, with withered fragment of that historical cable silently test fields. Every leap forward in finance begins with those audacious enough to challenge the impossible.